My grandfather is really a big reason why I am a Christian today. You know, I did football for a time. That was
nice.
I will say that was really a big moment.
Football helped change the trajectory of your life.
Oh
like
my gosh,
that's like, whoa, that's a big statement.
I still remember the image of just looking up in the sky. I just remember seeing like, oh my gosh, what happened? I really got depressed after a while, and I just started hating everything. Like I hated everyone.
Maybe the biggest part of my story is just my family.
I moved to Vero Beach for flight school.
Playing football, especially, I would get invited to a lot of parties.
During this time, he's like full weight on this knife trying to plunge it in there.
Like knowing the Lord brings me so much peace and joy and just confidence.
So I held this dude as he took his last breath, and it triggered this question and said, what is this life for?
Yo, what is up, party people? Welcome to another episode of Thrive and Dive, thriving in life as we dive into deeper conversations. The purpose of this show is to help you thrive in life by having people on that I feel are thriving in life, and you'll either hear their stories or areas where they have expertise in. And if you like the content here on Thrive and Dive, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. And I'm joined here today by a friend, the Logan Pozos. How do you say your last name?
Pozos.
I'm so sorry, Logan. I should have asked you how to pronounce that before I went on air. But how are you doing today, Logan?
I'm doing amazing.
Awesome, Logan. Great. As we jump into this podcast, make sure to keep your mouth close to the microphone.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Sorry.
So we can hear your lovely voice. Say it again, your last name?
Pozos.
Pozos.
Yes, sir.
Do you know the background of that last name? Where does that come from in terms of ethnicity?
It's Spanish.
It's Spanish
for wells.
For wells.
Yeah.
Like the like you dig and get water from?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. Do you come from a lineage of well makers?
No, but from my dad's side, my dad's father is Spanish.
Have you been to Spain before or no?
No. I've never
No.
been there.
Okay, so Logan Pozos. Awesome. Well, there you have it, folks. This is Logan Pozos, and I'm so thankful he has joined us here on Thrive and Dive. And he's going to be sharing his story today, and I'm super thankful that he's doing that. So for some context, many months ago, or not many months ago, but several months ago, I spoke at a high school retreat that the Masters Academy, a school I used to work for, a school that I've attended, and a school that Logan goes to, and I got to speak at their high school retreat. And long story short, I gave lessons on origin stories. That was the theme of the retreat, is that everybody has an origin story. We need to understand our origin story, understand the shortcomings, the things that bring us shame, the things that bring us pride, and we got to navigate and process our origin story if we want to be everything that God created us to be. Everyone has an origin story. And on the last night of the retreat, I put a challenge out to the seniors of Masters Academy that, hey, now that we understand the importance of origin stories, now that you maybe wrestled with your origin story, if you feel led, I'd love for you to share your origin story on my podcast called Thrive and Dive. So I put that out to the seniors, and Logan came up to me at the end of that night and said, I would love to take up that challenge. And here we are, fulfilling that commitment.
Yes, sir.
And he's actually the only one of the seniors that decided to take up that challenge. So I'm thankful for you, Logan, and your willingness to step out in faith and do something maybe a little more uncomfortable and hopping on a podcast. So
Yes,
I'm thrilled, though. So a little bit of backstory, Logan. I'll let you answer this. When did you and I first meet? I think I have an idea, but I want to hear your perspective on this.
Well, I think I might have met you during like maybe chapel. Oh, actually, no. Actually, I do remember when I met you.
Oh, wow.
It was one of the days where you came by Tabernacle.
Okay,
I remember you came by
yeah.
Tabernacle one day, and I was just listening. I'll be real. I forgot what you were preaching about.
Oh no, I do not shame. I forget what I preached about when I first went to Tabernacle. Tabernacle being the second branch of Masters Academy. Yeah.
Well, when I listened to you, it was like it felt different. It felt really good.
Praise God.
listening to you.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
So that was the first time. Wow, that was actually a while ago.
That was
yeah,
actually, I think we were just getting off COVID.
just getting off COVID.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So 3 years ago, maybe
Yeah,
4 years ago.
like 2021.
2021. Wow.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's so cool. Wow. The fact that you remember that is impressive, and no shame for not remembering what I spoke on. Because again, I don't even remember what I spoke on, and I was the one who spoke it. So that's great. So I actually do remember going over there to Tabernacle, but unfortunately, I don't remember meeting you specifically. I remember meeting you for like the first time, you shaking my hand, and It was after a chapel service here on the main campus at Masters Academy, if I'm pretty sure, and we promoted Pathway students, the place where I now work, and I was speaking as a guest speaker. Well, actually, I was still on staff at Masters Academy as the chaplain. I wasn't a teacher anymore, but I was their chaplain. And he came up to me and be like, "Hey, I want to check out your youth group." On Sunday nights at Pathway Students.
It's my fault too. I should really be.
Oh,
attending
no,
more.
yeah, no worries, man. It's all good. Obviously, we love having you when you're able to make it. But I remember that being a standout moment. Like, oh, sweet, Logan, nice to meet you. And then you came to youth group, and I got to know you some more. And then obviously I see you here and there. I don't work at Masters Academy anymore, but sometimes I guest speak. And obviously I was at that high school retreat. So I have a name to a face, Logan. Yeah. And so that's the extent of our relationship. So I'm super thankful for you, Logan, and excited for your future and excited for this conversation. So before we jump into your story, though, let's go ahead and give a little bit of context of who you are as a person, and then we'll jump into the narrative, if you will. So what do you like to do for fun, Logan? What grade are you in? Well, I think I already shared that you're a senior.
Yes, sir. I am a senior.
You are a senior, yes. So any fun facts about you? Favorite movie? Doesn't matter to me, but just a little introduction. If you were to introduce yourself to somebody you've never met before.
Well, yeah, I'm a senior, and favorite movie? I don't even know what my favorite movie is, but yeah, a little closer.
There you go. Tough questions, I know.
It's already tough. It's already gotten tough.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite things I like to do is really just be around like more of my friends and just being around my family. I'm really with my family a whole lot of the time. I'm with my friends most of the time whenever they're free and available.
Love it. Yeah, we got busy schedules sometimes, but whenever you're available. For speaking of your family, do you have siblings or just you and your parents, or what's your family dynamic?
My sister Leah. She's
shout out to Leah.
I love Leah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's my sister, and then my mom, my dad, my grandfather is really a big reason why I am a Christian today.
Wow.
Yes, sir. He was a deacon over at Tabernacle Ministries, and he was actually one of the last of the deacons over there at Tabernacle.
Wow.
And over the years, it kind of did change a little bit to being my mom, because my mom has been really, she has always been able to bring me right back to every time I slip up, every time I mess up, and anytime I mess up, she's always the one that brings me right back.
Yeah.
She always, puts some sense into me. Sometimes.
Yeah, knocks some motherly sense into you. Yeah. I can say that about my mom too, and my mom, Mrs. Fleming, works at Masters Academy. So sweet. You like hanging out with friends and family. You got a sister. That's super cool. Any fun hobbies you like to do, Logan?
Oh man,
what do you and your friends like to do?
Most of the time we just always go mess around.
Shenanigans.
Do whatever. And I did football for a time. That was
nice.
I will say that was really a big moment for my whole life. It actually, I really would say, it set a big trajectory of where I was then, and it actually set a really big course for where I want to go in the future. Okay, that's awesome. I want to come back to that. That sounds like an important piece of your story. So that's awesome. And as far as free time goes, I'm working a lot of the time. I'm working with my dad. A whole bunch of the time.
What do you do for work?
Your dad? My dad. Well, actually, my dad works over at the the CVS facility out west of town. Oh yeah. I'm usually doing like smaller jobs, like around neighborhoods.
Okay.
Anybody that needs help, we go help them. I haven't really been able to much, recently because of what happened with me and my leg. Oh, okay. Yeah, your injury. But I'm actually starting. I'm getting back up on the saddle. Let's go. I'm starting to do way more than what I was able to do before. That's awesome, man. And that's quite a journey as well. Another piece of your story I'm sure we'll touch on. But super cool, Logan. Well, folks, this is Logan. So glad he's on. Give him a warm welcome. Yeah, round of applause from everybody watching. Awesome. So, Logan, you've already sprinkled a couple teasers of some things in your story, and now I want to jump into your story. And where you want to start is up to you in terms of when you were young or a couple years ago. I'll let you have the liberty to. I don't even know where to begin. Where to begin? Okay. I don't know where to begin. How about we start with you, if you don't mind, proceeding
your relationship with the Lord. What was life like before then? And then I want to hear how
Oh my
you
gosh,
got to know him.
I feel like I've known the Lord my whole life.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's always been in my life.
Hmm.
The whole entire, like, every time I mess up, I always end up going right back to him. And I've known God probably since, if you really want to put an age to it, probably since I was like, 6.
Wow, that's awesome.
Truly knew the Lord.
Yep.
I went to Glendale Christian School. I was there for the first really good portion of my life. It wasn't really good in school back then, but I've gotten much better now.
Awesome.
Miss Carlson really did help me.
Shout out to Mrs. Carlson. Air horn from Mrs. Carlson. What a legend.
Yeah. And
so when did you go from Glendale to Tabernacle / Votech Masters Academy?
Back in the 6th grade, when COVID really started, I started doing online classes and doing online courses.
Wait, COVID happened for you in 6th grade?
Yep.
Man, time kind of flies because that was my first year as a teacher. I was 22
really?
years old. You're 6th
That's
grade.
fun.
Little 6th grader.
That's
Wow.
fun.
How about that? Now you're a senior. Wow. Time does fly. My goodness. Okay. So 6th grade, Tabernacle, COVID, all that fun online learning. Yep.
And, over time, my mom started to see how my work is like, how paces were. And my mom actually she was a former student of Miss Carlson.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
over
like
at Tabernacle.
I'm like a grand student to Miss Carlson.
Wow. Shout out to Miss Carlson.
Yeah.
Been in the game for a while. And what a legend. Like I said, a legend. Yeah.
Yeah, she is.
Awesome.
Yeah. And, she started to see how, my mom started to see how the work I was doing was really like how the pace work is. And then inevitably she decided to call up Miss Carlson one day. She was actually she just then got back into teaching. So she calls up Miss Carlson, and I end up at Tabernacle Ministries.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Sweet. And you were there until made the shift over to Masters Academy, which is still Tabernacle Ministries. Masters Academy just absorbed.
And I gotta say, that was crazy. That was a really crazy shift for me.
Yeah,
too.
talk about that.
Yeah.
That shift. I want to hear about it.
Oh my gosh, for me it was. Well, I would say for the first 3 years of my schooling, I was in this little quiet white cafeteria for most of the time. Very quiet cafeteria. If you've been in the Votech building, it's definitely quiet in there.
Like a library.
It's actually like a library.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
One day we just started hearing news that Miss Carlson was saying we have a big surprise coming up, and it turned out that it was actually just this big shift over to Masters Academy.
Wow.
Which was huge at the time.
You were hoping for a pizza party, weren't you? A surprise. It turned out to be we're moving.
We're moving.
Yeah.
We're moving. Yeah. And I remember the first time we actually got to the school. The first time I ever been at Masters Academy was for a pep rally.
Okay.
I forgot what it was for. Actually, I think it was for basketball. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And I remember just seeing a whole bunch of people in it. I'm like,
whoa.
It's
It's a lot louder than that quiet cafeteria.
And how it is with when we were in the cafeteria was, it was just us.
Yeah.
There's no other
Like how many people in the cafeteria at the Votech and Tabernacle? Roughly?
At the time, probably the best of maybe 20 people.
20 people.
Yeah, 20 people in the cafeteria, and then Miss Carlson, also Miss Tarpey.
Yeah,
she's
Tarpey.
been there the whole time.
Wow.
Too. Mr. G, we love Mr. G, but he showed up 2 years ago.
He's a little newer to the program.
Yeah.
He's
but
not
we
an
love
OG.
him though. We love.
Yeah,
Mr.
Mr.
G.
Gutierrez. He's
Yes,
a legend. If you're watching Mr. Gutierrez, you are a legend. Yes, and Miss Tarpe. Yeah,
Mhm.
shout out.
And at the time, she was actually Miss Eden. I remember.
Ah.
Yeah, she was. I don't know how the name switch happened, but
Yeah.
yeah, she at the time she was Miss Eden.
So Miss Eden was her OG name, and then
Yeah.
she turned into Batman and became Miss Tarpe. Tarpe. Yeah, cool, awesome, nice. So talk to me a little bit more about that shift. So from 20 students to Master Academy isn't a huge school, right? But it is a lot bigger than Votech Tabernacle alone. So how was it like going to especially a pep rally? That's a crazy first encounter to the school.
Crazy first encounter, seeing the whole school.
Yep.
You saw everybody at the school. You saw, it was really crazy that first time, and I was very eager to get over here. And I'm very happy I am over here too. I love it here.
That's awesome.
It's been very great.
That's awesome.
It's been very good being here.
Yeah, so actually I was on staff still at Masters Academy full time as a teacher when you guys first integrated into our curriculum. So VOTEC being a more paced program, like you said, and then we adopted that branch, if you will, that type of curriculum because Tabernacle was making a shift. So I remember for me, I'm like, all right, as a chaplain and a teacher, how do we minister to these new students that I'm not in the classroom with 24/7, if you will. And we're like, how do we acclimate you guys to where you guys like belong to the Masters Academy family, right? You're not like a stepbrother or something. You are a Masters Academy student.
And
so I'm curious to hear your perspective as a student, because we tried hard as a teacher, but I don't know. Sometimes we messed up.
It was never you guys.
Okay.
Like y'all did amazing.
Oh, praise
amazing
God.
Job.
Yeah.
It's just there were certain people that it's hard to get acclimated.
Sure.
To this whole new school. We're taking the whole school right here, and then we're taking this one, and then we're actually just adding on to it. And yeah. At the time, I was a little, I was a little on and off about it. I was like, it'd be fun, At the time, I wasn't really like as much of a people person as I am now.
Yeah, you've grown into it.
I've grown into it a lot, and being stuck with about 20 people that you see every day, it's kind of hard, getting to see a whole bunch of new faces.
Yeah.
You have to get, you really have to start talking to these people because now you're with them.
Yeah, you can't just ignore them.
You can't ignore them because,
they're in your
they're now
society, if you will.
Yeah, society.
So yeah, right. A secret society. So tell me what pushed you to be more social, because you say you're more quiet and you it sounds like you came out of your shell a little bit. What was if you can pinpoint the moment, or was it just like, I'm forced to be like you said, there's new people. Like I can't just be here, not talking to nobody.
I don't know what was going through my head at the time, but I decided as soon as I got there, I was going to go pick up a sport. I didn't know at the time what sport I wanted to do.
Because there wasn't any sports.
There's no sports at Tabernacle.
Yeah, okay.
Really, the only sport you get to do is like the free time.
The free time, like PE kind of type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. After a while, I started hearing so much. Even at the time while we were at Tabernacle, we actually could. Students from Tabernacle could go play over at Masters Academy.
Right. Yeah. I remember hearing about that.
I've been hearing a lot about football from my friends Avery and Arlen. The Twins.
The Twins. Yeah. Yep, I know who you're talking about.
I love the Twins.
Yep.
And then, they, due to medical reasons, they had to stop playing. And then Nick Gerkles, you know about Nick Gerkles?
Yeah, I know Gerkel.
Gerkel. He was actually really a big reason why I started playing football.
Wow.
Because he was, there is a story about me and Gerk. When I first met him, he thought that the school that we were at wasn't for, normal students. He thought that him and someone else was the only normal people there.
At the Tabernacle school? Yeah, okay.
And, I didn't press him. I wasn't like,
yeah.
I just said, what do you mean by you're the only normal person?
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then that, we didn't just immediately become friends right after that. It took I'd say it took like a good year or two for us to actually get to know each other much better. And then 2 summers ago, oh my gosh, we became like best friends.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
But yeah, he was really a big reason why I got into football in the first place. And also at the time, too, I wasn't really good with my health choices.
Okay.
I really wanted to lean more towards better health choices, too. And I decided what better way than to join the Masters Academy football team.
Yeah, that would be in the shape, 100%.
100%.
I never played football, but I played sports at Masters Academy and any sport. But football specifically, though, that will get you moving.
And I didn't play for my first year of football.
Okay.
And I barely played for my second year.
Okay.
But with the time that I had there, it was really something amazing.
That's awesome.
I enjoy talking about it a whole lot with a whole bunch of people. Any chance I get to talk about it, I'll talk about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I think you already kind of answered this question, but I want to go back to what you said a few minutes ago, how football help change the trajectory of your life.
Oh my
Like
gosh,
that's
yeah.
like, whoa, that's a big statement.
Yeah.
Like what do you mean by that? Talk to us about that.
I never knew about football. I didn't know a single thing about football at all. And I decided to join blind. I knew zip about football at the time. And well, over time I started to see more of like there's a brothership here, I enjoy being a part of this brotherhood of amazing people. I miss everyone who was here last year. I miss them so much, and I miss the people who were on the team this year too. We haven't really been able to talk too much. I haven't been able to talk too much because I had a lot of stuff going on this year.
Yeah.
And this last season was really hard for me too. I had a lot of personal stuff going on, and then the season got cut short with my leg. And
Yeah, talk to us about that if you don't mind. What's the story behind that? I know it's a sore spot and probably sensitive. And
no, it's not sensitive. I'll talk about it. It's, someone on our field, really big guy.
Yeah.
We were running drills one day. It was something where we had to get past someone else and then go grab a red jersey, I think. And I was doing pretty good. I held him down pretty long. I was actually able to rip right past most of the guys who I was going up against. And then, I should have been chopping my feet more. That's a big thing with linemen.
Yeah.
You gotta really when you're holding up against someone, you really gotta move.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really chopping my feet enough and snapped. And I was on the ground. And
Ooh,
I still remember the image of just looking up in the sky. I just remember seeing like, oh my gosh, what happened?
Oh my!
What happened?
How painful was it in that moment when it snapped? We were just like, what in the world?
Well, I think Jules hurt. Julian Fernandez.
Julian Fernandez. Maybe if I saw him, I don't know my name.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He said he heard a big oh when I was on the ground, and then like, oh my gosh, the pain was awful. You remember one day when I came to youth?
Yeah.
Right? That was, and then we were having small groups.
Yep.
Is that what it's called?
Yep.
We were having small groups.
Yeah. No, but I remember what we're talking about.
I'm getting up out of the chair. I'll bust my leg. Every time that you buckle your leg, I didn't just tear my ACL. I also damaged my meniscus too.
Wow.
And that would lead to a lot more pain.
Sure.
Yeah. And every time that it popped, oh my goodness, it was the worst pain in the whole world. Well, maybe not the worst pain in the whole world,
But probably the most intense pain you've experienced.
definitely.
Yeah. Which is the worst pain in the whole world for you.
Probably
Not the whole world, but like
I hope
for
it's
you.
going to be the worst pain I have
For the rest of your life. Yeah. Good.
Yeah. And there's another time too. You can't really jump when your ACL does tear. You can't jump. You can't do quick side step chops.
Sure.
I was getting down from the bus that we have out
Yeah.
front.
Yep.
I was getting down from it one day. We were about to go into a game, which I felt terrible when I busted my leg again, and I felt terrible that not broke my leg. I did this again at the worst time possible when we're just getting ready to get started, and oh my goodness, it was not a good fun time at all.
Yeah. So where are you in the recovery process of this?
Right now, I'm almost able to jog again.
Wow.
Which it was amazing. I just remember I was barely able to go up a step.
Yeah.
I had to be extremely careful. I had to hold on to people if I needed to. It wasn't fun at all.
Yeah.
I remember when it really hit me that my season was done. I was just sitting down one day, and then it's always when you're sitting down, and if you get up too fast, you'll just. And I just remember when I got the news one day from my mom and dad. They told me that the doctor, they checked it all, they saw what was wrong, and it was an ACL tear. I heard from last year one of our boys had a tear, and he was able to play like for the final games of the season. I thought maybe if I were to maybe work hard enough, maybe I could get back in.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the case. It was a little worse than that. And yeah, it was a little tough when I heard the news that I couldn't play anymore.
Yeah, no, I imagine. Yeah, as a former athlete, whenever you get injured and you want to play,
Especially for your senior year too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The final countdown, if you will. So, man, this wasn't too long ago, right?
It wasn't long. It was like a year ago. I'd tell you, 2024 was a really bumpy year.
Bumpy year.
Very bumpy year.
So with that being said, if you don't mind me asking, like, man, what lessons did you learn through specifically that injury experience, or what lessons are you still learning as a result of that experience?
Yeah, I'm learning that I shouldn't always be so like, I shouldn't always curse the world all the time. I shouldn't curse everybody for something that happened that I did, And the guy who I went against, I never said, it's your fault. It's all your fault. And I would never do that. I would never do that to anybody. But I just sort of like, I really got depressed after a while, and I sort of like, I just started hating everything. Like I hated everyone. Except from, my mom and dad, they were really the ones that were really trying to like, calm me down, tell me that it's okay.
Yeah.
You did amazing. My mom, every chance she gets, she'd tell me that I was doing an amazing job. Every day, she said this was a whole new Logan that she saw this whole year. This whole go, go, go all the time. With football, it's go, go, go all the time.
Sure. Yeah.
And any sport, it's go, go, go all the time.
Absolutely.
And she'd never seen this from me before. And she said I did really great. And I think I learned that when it comes to like something that really does, when something doesn't go my way, I shouldn't be so like always mad all the time, and yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so that's a great lesson that you learned. And yeah, I think it's something that I, for one, can sympathize with, and anyone listening who's gone through injury, especially with the stakes in terms of a senior year. Even now, as a 27-year-old man, I'm like, man, when I get injured, like, man, it's like, that drives me crazy, right? It's out of my control. It's not what I would have wanted. Man, what a foolish decision, yada, yada. You fill in the blank. And, it's in our pain, regardless of the reason we got it, whether it was a stupid decision, a freak accident, or just a natural course of life, getting older. We got to be like, man, God, you're in control, and I'm going to use this pain as an opportunity to grow in my relationship with you and become a stronger person.
And that's what I did.
Let's go. Let's go.
It really did bring me closer to God, though. There was a time where it got really bad, but that's the thing too. I've walked with God for so long, and I've diverted from the path before. I've diverted from the path many times, but I always come back. And that's what I've started to realize recently too, is that no matter what, He wants me.
Wow.
He wants me. He wants to bring me back. So I think I might as well stay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, thanks for your honesty with that. We've all taken a turn diverting from the path, myself included. And, God is there like the prodigal son, ready to welcome us with open arms. Yeah. And it doesn't mean we won't divert from the path again, right? I don't want to put a number on it, but
I guarantee I'm probably gonna divert from the path.
We hope not. We don't want to.
I really hope I don't
walk with hope and confidence. But we're not perfect individuals, right? I think of David. David from the Bible. Yeah. And a lot of his psalms, specifically the category of psalms, are called the Psalms of Lament, which basically are psalms of him lamenting, which lamenting means crying out, grieving, and things like that. Yeah.
I know about the story of David. I've never really dove into Psalms too much.
Yeah,
I know certain passages, I know certain verses, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No worries. But so, for example, Psalms 22 is a verse or a chapter of Psalms that David wrote. And he says, my God, why have you forsaken me? It's actually a psalm that Jesus quotes from the cross. And not a lot, but a good portion of David's psalms are psalms that are crying out to God, like, why have you forsaken me? Why have you leaving me? Or why did you why did you leave me? Why are you not forecasting me? Or I don't know, different words of basically, why are you forsaking me? Like, why are you not here? Why are you letting this trial happen?
That's how I felt. That's
Exactly
really how I felt there
So
that time.
with that being said, though, I think God welcomes that. You see, David, he laments to God. The man after God's own stinking heart is crying out to God, why have you forsaken me? Why have you left me stranded? Why? But here's the thing, though. In those Psalms of lament, if you ever do get the chance to read the Psalms, I encourage you to do so. He talks about, though I lament, though I feel forsaken, I trust in you, God.
Yeah.
So he's being honest and real with God about his situation and his plight. And he's like, man, what is going on, God? And man, I don't know what the Hebrew curse words were back then, but I wonder, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, though, here's the thing. He didn't lose hope.
No.
He didn't lose trust. He was doubting in the situation. He was grieving the situation. But at the end of the day, he knew, God, though I don't understand what in the world is going on, I trust you.
Yeah.
And though my actions don't demonstrate that sometimes because I wander off the path like we've talked about, but at the end of the day, I know you're real. I know you got my best interest in heart. I know you're working something. No pain or tragedy.
Oh my gosh, every day, like, you know, there was that time where I did kind of lose a little bit of hope, but once I started to I started to read my Bible way more, and that's the thing too. I really need to start attending church more. I haven't been in a very long time.
Well, thanks for sharing that. That's a helpful way to get back on the path. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to find somewhere. I might go to Pathway soon.
Yeah, wherever, man, wherever the Lord leads you to. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I'm gonna be fine. Yeah.
That's awesome, Logan. I want to hear. You mentioned this at the beginning of the show about your grandfather's influence as a deacon of Tabernacle.
Oh yeah.
Talk to us about, man, why did you specifically mention him as someone who helped you grow in your relationship with the Lord? What did he do when you were young? Is he still with us now? Or
he is still here
cool.
with us.
What's he been doing? Like, why is he such a significant part of your story?
So when I was younger, my granddad I always wanted to be like my granddad. You know, I love my dad too, but my granddad, he was really one of the big figures. You know, every time I saw him, you know, he was always preaching the word, you know, to everybody. You know, sometimes to people he probably shouldn't. Well, you preach the word to everybody.
Sure.
But,
Yeah.
You know, he's, you know, maybe not talking in the right times when he's supposed to talk.
Okay.
Yeah, but I love it. Yeah. And, you know, throughout the years, I just, you know, I haven't been around him much because there was a time that he was living with us. Him and my grandma were living with us. And then, you know, they wanted to go move into a condo. They wanted to go, you know, live separate from mom and dad. You know, that's reasonable. And, you know, recently it's just, you know, I barely see them anymore, but it's okay. You know,
yeah.
I love them. They know I love them, and I'll do anything for them. He had been recently diagnosed with an early stage of dementia. And also, you know, at the time, I don't know if I told you this, but my grandma did have breast cancer for a little while.
Yeah.
But she's better now.
That's awesome.
Yes. That was a major prayer from everybody. You know, everybody was always like, and it worked out. It worked out. And I'm happy that she's good today. And she's starting to grow back her hair. It's just amazing.
That's awesome.
It's really
dude.
amazing to see.
Super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I'm glad you have people in your life that have been role models to you, and I encourage you to continue to look up to them and to use them as.
This thing, I've been blessed.
Yeah.
I'm blessed to have my mom, my dad, my grandma and grandpa still alive.
Yeah.
I'm blessed to have a whole bunch of family. You know, I see so many of my friends, you know, they say, you know, they don't have their mom, they don't have their dad, you know, their grandpa passed away, you know, how many years ago.
Yeah.
You know, I'm blessed.
It's awesome.
And
man.
I'm happy to have them
Well, that's awesome.
really happy to have
That's
him.
awesome that you say that as a high school student, because I similarly am blessed with such a great family, great parents, great siblings, great grandparents. Though they've passed, they led a legacy of faith for us as grandchildren.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're realizing, like, yeah, we don't take that for granted, right?
We don't. We don't.
have-
We'll never
there's-
take it for granted.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because there's so many people that don't have that, whether
Yeah.
they're born in a single parent home or they don't know their father.
That's the thing too. I
Yeah.
have both. I have parents. I have both of my parents, and they've been together now for probably I think 30 years. now.
Wow, praise God.
And my grandma and grandpa have been together for like 50.
That's a testament to the Lord, man. That's
That
awesome.
That is the Lord.
That is the Lord.
That is
Amen.
the Lord.
That's what, like I said, that you're so cool that you recognize the importance of that, and like you're like just thankful for it because
Yeah.
there's gonna be times like, oh, my parents, so in high school, right? I'm like, oh, such a drag, and let me do this or that. But you're recognizing, no, I'm blessed.
I'm
And
blessed.
I'm thankful. That's
I'm
awesome,
very
man.
blessed.
That's super cool. Man, anything else, Logan, you want to share as we wrap up this episode on Thrive and
man.
Dive? This has been a great conversation. Thanks for opening up about so many
I'm
things.
trying to think. There is definitely a lot of stuff I do want to talk about.
Sure.
But
It's hard to fit it all into one program.
yeah, sometimes when you're talking, sometimes you just forget about everything.
Sure. Yeah.
Sometimes
Well, I'm a firm believer that the Lord puts on our mind the things that need to be spoken. I'm sure, obviously, we can't encapsulate your whole life into 45 minutes, but this has been a good, a segment of, a description of your life and how the Lord has brought you through things. And I just think of the football team, how that brotherhood and that they influenced you. I think of your grandfather and a role model he was. I think of the way that you've been navigating your pain and disappointment with your torn ACL. I just think of all these things. Your acclamation to the school body at Masters Academy. It's just an awesome testimony, and I hope others are blessed by it, encouraged by it, and are inspired by it is my hope, Logan. So thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. One more air horn for you, bro.
Yes, sir. I'm very happy. I really wanted to get on the show because I've seen a few episodes and it's just amazing what you do, Mr. J.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that, Logan. I appreciate it. All glory to God, and I'm thankful that you get to be part of the mission here on Thrive and Dive.
Yeah.
Sweet, dude. Awesome, guys. Well, this is Thrive and Dive. Thriving in life as we dive into deeper conversations. Have a good rest of your day.